I'm Shohreh Aghdashloo, and you're listening to You Might Know Her From, with Damien and Anne.
Ooh, hootenanny. Hello, and welcome to another episode of You Might Know Her From.
With Damien and Anne.
I'm Anne.
And I am Damien. And welcome to our weekly podcast where we shoot the shit as two, I don't want to say connoisseurs of pop culture, but I will say two idiots. And then we shoot the shit with a character actress later in the episode.
Damien, before we get into this week's guest, which is just, I just want to say, it's like, whoo boy, I know you've already seen the show title at this point, so like, I can't believe we got who we got. But before we get into that, I just wanted to remind you of something that I thought of the other day that like tickled me so hard that it was like, you know, sometimes you think of something and you're like, this is a brand new memory. It's like you're refilling the parts of your past that you thought you had forgotten. And I had this flashback to my old job where I worked for a wine importer, and we were doing our monthly show at UCB, and we were always trying to like book celebs or, you know, celebrities by our standards.
Yeah.
And I think it was for our 90s show, So Into It, the 90s, that we were really trying to book one Miss Gina Gershon.
I was going to say, was it Gina Gershon?
Gina Gershon, who was very important to us and very important to Bound, of course, the classic lesbian movie, and Showgirls, of course. So we were like, we're going to get Gina Gershon. Her people like had maybe shown like a small inkling of interest, and we were like, we have to call her. We have to call the publicist.
We take a response in email. Well, I take a response in email and I run 10 miles with it. But I think, go ahead. I think I know what you did, but remind me.
I was terrified to make this call. So I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to preemptively just make this happen. But my office was tiny and my boss sat right behind me. So I did a thing. We were like in an office park in Manhattan. So I went upstairs to the concierge and I like rented a conference room that was like the size of my thumb. I had a conference call phone in there and I dialed 9-1 and then I dialed the publicist number and I read a script that I had written out, and I was like, hey, Sarah, this is Anne of So Into It from Upright Citizens Brigade Theater. We are looking to book Gina Gershon for our show, So Into It, the 90s. We're such huge fans of her oeuvre, from The Bound to Showgirls to, what was that fucking Tracy Letts movie?
Revival.
I was sweating uncontrollably the whole time, but I was thinking back, like, now we get to do most of this over email. Like, every once in a while we get a phone call that we have to field, but most of it is over email these days. But like, I rented a full conference room to call Gina Gershon's person, who never called me back.
Oh man. Well, bless. We're going to get Gina Gershon one day and we're going to tell her this.
We went to go see her. Remember, we went to see Showgirls at Lincoln Center, and there was like a talk back with Joe Esterhaus and Gina Gershon, and we were both like, she is so wonderful. She is so smart and so funny and so sexy, and we were like blown away. I mean, we already loved her, but I was like very drawn to her in person.
Wait, who? It was her, and wasn't it her and the director?
It was Joe Esterhaus. Oh no,
I thought it was
the writer.
Paul Verhoeven.
I thought it was Joe Esterhaus who wrote it.
I thought it was Verhoeven.
Well, obviously neither one of us was paying attention to whichever
I only cared about
was
Gina.
Sitting next to her.
I remember like trying to think of a question to ask her, which I think was somebody asked a shady question about Elizabeth Berkley, and I didn't want to do that, but I did want to ask her a question about like acting opposite EB, because I think that Gina was very generous in her answer to the like shady gay.
She was.
She said that she said that Elizabeth Berkley was like playing it deadly serious, and that was like actually worked.
I also, I wanted to talk to her about like the politics of playing butch in the 90s and how hot she was in Bound, but I didn't ask that question either. So maybe someday we can get Gina on the show.
Holy shit, she's the butch one. That's like, my brain had like sort of forgotten that she is sort of the butch to
Yes, she's so hot in
Tilly.
it. She wears that white tank top and she like works with tools. She's like got a wrench on the sink under the faucet. It's like, oh
she's
my God.
She's giving real, what's her name from The L Word?
Kate Menig?
No.
Oh.
Not Carmen.
Dawn Denbo?
No, who's the carpenter who has an affair with Bette?
Oh, Candace.
I was gonna like, not Carmen.
Candace the carpenter. Yeah.
Candace, yeah. Ooh, I love a memory like that though, like a real, yeah.
I was sweating.
Folks, before we get to the interview, we do want to please implore you to Leave us a review if you haven't already done so. It means a whole lot. We don't mean to be annoying, but getting a good review and a written review, boy, does that like help the algorithm, help people discover us who might like us, and really just like get us one step closer to getting this to be our little touring dog and pony show, which is like really the only thing I want to do is bring character actor and women actor and non-binary actors stories to your ear holes. So please do Ann and I that solid and leave us a little written review, and do so from like your grandfather's phone, your neighbor's phone, your doctor who's giving you that vaccine we hope, whoever's phone.
Folks, in this COVID era, we have gone remote, as you know. We were very nervous about it, but the great news, if one good thing came of the last 10 months, it is that we have been able to land huge guests who don't live in New York City. And that was sort of the mission of season 3 of You Might Know Her From, is that we were going to speak to people that don't make their home in New York. This person is a top tier guest for us. The fact that we landed Oscar nominee Shohreh Aghdashloo for our podcast. We've been angling for her since day one. She is somebody that Damien and I used to scream at each other about in the corner of Barrage and 9th Avenue Saloon when we were wasted at like 2 a.m. We'd be talking about Shohreh Aghdashloo's performance in House of Sand and Fog. So the fact that we finally got her is so huge.
Folks, I need to tell you that I don't want to speak for Anne, but I don't generally feel nervous about most of our interviews. And I was very flustered. I was like same. Red in the face. There was like a point where she didn't have headphones in and I was like, I'm not interrupting because I don't want to like make her feel bad. Yeah. And then our beautiful editor, Daniel, did a beautiful job editing a question that I legitimately like was like, because I was so like flustered with her beauty and also just like being in her presence. I don't know what it was about, but like, I just was very flustered. And yeah, it was a hoot.
Like we said, we are remote this season. We're doing the best we can with sound, but every once in a while, I've got a little bit of an unstable internet connection. So our sound quality is not exactly 1,000% on this. So stick with it. There's a ton of great stuff in it. We're always trying to bring you the best quality we can. We think we did a pretty good job on this, and our beautiful editor, Daniel Sears, cleaned it up to perfection. Thank you, Daniel, as always.
You might know her from House of Sand and Fog,
The Expanse,
24,
House of Saddam,
X-Men, The Last Stand,
A Simple Wedding,
The Lake House,
and The Chess Game of the Wind.
Oh my goodness. This has really been a journey to get here. We have been in hot pursuit of the woman in front of us. We are here with actress and Oscar nominee Shohreh Aghdashloo. Shohreh, thank you for being on You Might Know Her From.
Oh my God, thank you for taking up your time and talking to me. I am so happy to be with you. Thank you.
So Shohreh, one of the really our happiest discoveries from doing our research for today was the romantic comedy we just found of yours, A Simple Wedding. We got to see you play a traditional Persian mother worried for her unlucky daughter's love life and her chances at marriage. Yeah. And it was really lovely to see you do broad comedy and also play opposite your real-life husband, Hushang Tozi. You're an executive producer on the film, as is our girl, Rita Wilson. Yes. It's a really charming and, like, typical romantic comedy, but, like, atypical in so many ways. And we were just very charmed by it. Can you talk about how it came to be and this project came into your life?
Yes, I tell you what happened. When I started acting on The House of Sand and Fog, when the movie was out, obviously I was going to get casted for the same kind of roles, a voiceless woman and, a downtrodden woman from the Middle East and stuff. So I managed to save myself and start acting, as a professor, as a doctor, not necessarily a downtrodden Middle Eastern woman. But I noticed that all these offers and auditions that were coming for me were for serious roles, tragedies, like dramas. But again, nobody offered me a comedy role, to the point that I had to produce it myself. So that's how I got myself involved with it. But more important than that was Rita Hanks and I got to know each other 10 years prior to this film. And as a matter of fact, Rita suggested to my husband, Hushain Tusi, who's an amazing Iranian playwright, Rita suggested to him to come up with a script about an Iranian American families that, in that genre. But my husband was ever so busy with his own plays and, Farsi-speaking plays and stuff, that he really didn't have time to do this. After 10 years, Rita sent it to me and she said, guess what? I found one. And I read it and I loved it. And I went to my husband and I said, I want you to play my husband. And he said, but there are not enough lines for me.
Too bad, so sad, sorry.
I swear to God, there are not enough. I said, okay. I called the writer-director and I said, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, let's all of us sit in my kitchen and sort this out. And I told the writer, I said, please give all my lines to my husband. We want to have him because, in my opinion, he's one of the best comedy players in the world. His comedy is all about rhythm, and his rhythm is amazing. And I wanted him as a producer, as an actor, I wanted him to portray my husband. So we sat down with the writer-director, and she said, I can't give your lines to him. Let me create lines for him. But I agree with Robert De Niro. He was asked which one he likes to do more, acting, directing, or producing. And he said, well, he has realized that when he produces, he has to be worried about the finances at all times and who's spending what on what. So he said that he would rather act and pay attention to his acting. And I agree with him, because when our the head of makeup came to me and said, I need to buy a mascara. I said, well, go buy it. Why do you ask me? It's $120. I said, what? What kind of mascara is $120? And she said, the one she has asked for. And I said, who asked for? And when she told me who asked for it, I said, don't even ask, go get it.
It was Rita. Rita needed some Maybelline.
So you know. She's a lady, of course. She deserved it.
Okay, Shohreh, you've played master politician Christian Vassarala on 5 seasons of The Expanse, an Amazon series that is often referred to as the best sci-fi series since Battlestar Galactica. So, for our listeners, if you're not familiar, The Expanse is set 200 years in the future when humanity has colonized the solar system, and there are 3 warring factions. There's Earth, Mars, and the Belt. So your character is a political leader on Earth and gets to wear these stunning outfits. You get to sling these vicious one-liners, and your character is sort of someone who will do anything to win. You seem to us like an actor who really puts in the work. So can you talk about how you prepared to enter this speculative world? And after playing her for 5 seasons, if you're able to sort of summon her at the drop of a dime?
Well, I'm going to refer to the second novel, chapter 5, when Abasarala gets into the story. It's interesting. Abasarala is not even in novel first, but the producers decided to bring her from the very beginning. So they borrowed bits and pieces from the other novels and brought her to the first novel for the TV series. It says Abasarala comes from a political background. Her father, her ancestors were all in politics. She was raised in politics. She knows everyone in the political world. She knows their names, their titles. She even knows who is dating who. In other words, she's also aware of their private lives. And she speaks 10 languages. When I read that description, I thought, it's going to be a hard one, but I can do it. So first thing was Margaret Thatcher. Second was obviously Indira Gandhi, a woman whom I have adored all my life, ever since I was 7 years old. Back in Iran, I was thinking, if one day a woman could be so powerful like Indira Gandhi, a woman can change the course of a political system of a country. Benazir Bhutto was the next one, because I've been working on Benazir's story for a long time now, and I'm dying to bring it to the silver screen.
So, Shohreh, the 5th season of The Expanse is currently streaming on Amazon, and we understand that you're prepping for filming of the 6th and final season currently. Can you share if this new side of her is like the real deal, or is it a tactic to like get your reins of power back?
We have to see where she's heading, whether she's really an antagonist or she's a hero. It's really interesting. I read in a book on page 7, there are times that you need to shake hands with the killer of your grandfather, but politics dictates that you shake hands and you go on. Therefore, we really have to wait and see where she is going.
Stay tuned, man.
Or is she an antagonist?
Okay, so Shohreh, after nearly 30 years of working in Iran, the UK, and Hollywood, you had a breakthrough with your Oscar-nominated performance in 2003's House of Sand and Fog. In the film, you play Nadira Bahrani, the wife of Ben Kingsley's character. And Anne and I both just revisited this film and were once again truly, really blown away by your performance. It's such a small, teeny, tiny, quiet performance. But then there are these moments, specifically two, where you just explode at your husband. One of those moments resulting in you being slapped across the face. You were obviously a professional actor and an established. Did you feel like a veteran walking into that role, or was it intimidating to go toe-to-toe with a heavy hitter like Ben Kingsley?
What a great question, because it came up. I started like a veteran. I was a veteran, in my opinion. I went to the set and I'm like, hello, Mr. Kingsley, and you started right there and then, and he was ever happy having me. He kept getting my chin and saying that they could have not found a better wife for me. Bravo, sir. Bravo. He was happy with me. And I was honored. I was so honored that, oh my God, because no need to say that I was a fan of his before even I started working with him. Gandhi, of course, and then Sexy Beast, which...
Oh, yeah. That's great.
10 best films I've ever seen. So I started working with him like a veteran. Then, after the movie is done, we go for interviews. First interviewer, first question is, of course, towards me. Were you intimidated when you started working with Mr. Kingsley? And I said, no, I wasn't. And I looked at him and I was like, I don't know whether I said the right thing or not. Well, no, I wasn't intimidated. And when Kingsley laughed, and he said, good, I'm glad that you weren't intimidated, because I needed you to act fully.
Shohreh, you were nominated for an Oscar for this beautiful performance. You talked a little bit earlier about being typecast in downtrodden Middle Eastern roles, and then you didn't want that. Did you feel like the Oscar nomination changed that for you? Did it open doors for other types of roles?
It was my first film in Hollywood. So I had not acted in movies in Hollywood. I had done 3 amazing films in Iran that they are considered classics. But this was my first job in Hollywood. So afterwards, when I was nominated for an Oscar, everybody thought that I have a feeling like I have made it, I am there, it's already happened, and yes, this is it. And but it wasn't like that for me at all. When I was nominated for an Oscar, I was so happy because I knew it was just the beginning of my work in the American film and television industry. So when offers started coming in, I noticed that they're coming in for different roles. Lake House, a doctor, X-Man, a professor. It's mostly for doctors, professors, perhaps because of my voice. I enjoyed the ride so much. I've been enjoying the ride so much so far. Perhaps the reason was that when I got that nomination, I didn't think that I have arrived at my destination.
Right.
And this is the way I looked at it. It is just the beginning, and I'm ever so grateful and thankful for those who have nominated me, because they have given me a reason to follow up with this. Because before that, it's interesting, I have to share this with you. 15 years prior to that, a friend of mine was a successful actor. He said, I don't understand why you're not working, why you're just doing Iranian plays, Farsi-speaking plays. My husband and I did a lot of them. and then took them on tours around Europe, United States, and Australia and Canada. So he forced me to meet with his agent, and his agent sent me to an audition. Downtrodden, Middle Eastern woman. I got in. I was walking toward the casting director. She looked at me and she said, "Oh, no, you are too beautiful for this role. We're looking for a downtrodden Middle Eastern woman." I was so offended. I started going back, tiptoeing back, and I said, "I'm ever so sorry." Turned around and left. My husband was waiting for me in the car with the baby. We had a baby. And he said, "What happened?" I said, "Forget it. I'm not doing this. The industry is not ready for me." And they are right. I am not the girl next door. So let's just concentrate on our place and make a life for ourselves here. And we bought a house with our first play.
That's very cool. Also, because you're like you said, the business wasn't ready for you. They didn't know what to do with you. And when we were looking at your IMDb, it was like you could see the gap between some of your like early roles on TV and then House of Sand and Fog. And that explains is that you were doing plays and building your family and like making yourself happy.
Yeah, exactly. And then afterwards, I didn't have any agent or manager, nothing. I'm sitting in my office. The phone rings, and it's a lady asking for, "Can I talk to Shohreh Aghdashloo?" And I said, "Well, that sounds like my name, but it's not my name." She goes, "Whatever your name is, would you like to come down and sort it out?" "Where to?" "DreamWorks, of course." "What for?" "Movie." "What is it?" "House of Sand and Fog." And my knees started shaking, and my jaw started shaking. I still think she heard me. I'm like, because I had read the book. I had read the book a year before. Miss Beautiful Oprah suggested in her book club that we should read this book because it's the best, the best, the best. She said it 3 times. So I bought it. When I was reading it, apparently I was moaning or making miserable sounds because my husband said, "What is this?" And I said, "You know what? If one day they make a movie out of this film and they do not give me this role, then there is no democracy in this country." And my husband said, "You're such a political animal. What has it got to do with democracy?" And now they're calling. They're calling for me.
It's so cool.
Okay, so as you were saying, the House of Sand and Fog really put you on the map for American audiences. You followed it up with this next huge project in 2005, which was a season of the wildly popular Fox series 24, which of course starred Kiefer Sutherland as Jack Bauer, a bad boy counterterrorist operative for the U.S. government. You played matriarch and terrorist Dina Araz during the height of what we're calling sort of a post-9/11 Hollywood, where a lot of American programming promoted this sort of like nationalist, pro-military Islamophobia. You've talked at length about your initial refusal to take the role on 24 and how the showrunners actually sent you scripts to convince you that this role was for you. And to date, you've said that Dina is one of the most complicated women that you've ever had the privilege of playing. Can you talk a little bit about what life was like on set and how that experience on 24 has aged for you?
Life on set was the best, one of the best I've ever been a part of in my career. Such an amazing, dedicated crew, hardworking actor like Kiefer Sutherland. We started 7 a.m., we finished 7 p.m. I've been in other TV series, except for The Expanse. When you go over time, producers really don't care. They just want the work to be done. But in this one, Kiefer would insist at 7 p.m., would say, "Everyone, just put everything down and leave." Because these people have wives, children, they have homes. They need to be on the table to have dinner with their family. So it was an amazing experience. The reason I rejected the role at first was because of the fact that they were not telling me what's going to happen to this character at the end. And I told them it was beyond my ability to allow myself to get myself involved with something that I have no idea of where it's going to end or how it is going to end. I'm the kind of actor who needs to know, because you need me to defend this role in the future. Trust me, we're going to get into trouble. So I need to know. And finally, yes, they sent all this. I was told it was the first time that they told, they sent their script to an actor. They never did before that. Only Kiefer, Carlos, and the crew knew what was going to happen next. But I was right. I couldn't take that risk. When they told me what the story was like, I said, I would love to portray the role. I did, because as an actor, it was such a fully dimensional character. A wife, a lover, a mother, a terrorist, a traveler. Oh my God. Every actor would give an arm and a leg to portray that role. But I paid for it. I was bombarded by the Iranians. Why are you playing this role? Why are you giving us a bad name? Every morning when I was not working, I used to take my daughter to school. And that was the time I listened to the news on the Iranian radio to see what's going on in Iran. Right after the news was a talk show. As soon as it started, people would call and attack me. She is giving us a bad name, blah, blah, blah. So finally, after a month, I called the station and I said, you have to give me the same time. According to the law, FCC law, you have to give me equivalent time to defend myself, to talk about what happened and as to why I have chosen this role. So I went on air live and I talked to them and I said, shame on you. I'm an actress. At the end of the day, I'm an actress. I would love to portray sophisticated, complicated, multifunctional, dimensional characters like this. And you guys have been here. If you've migrated after the revolution, you must have been here for 30 or 40 years. And it's still, you don't understand what is going on. And still, you're trying character definition on me. And then they stopped.
Okay, Shohreh, switching gears here a bit. Your film debut was in Mohammad Reza Aslani's 1976 film, The Chess Game of the Wind, a Gothic family inheritance drama opposite legends of the Iranian cinema. The film was banned following the 1979 Iranian Revolution for its sexual freedom, expressionist imagery, and class commentary, and was considered a quote-unquote lost film until a print miraculously showed up in an antique shop in 2014, which is so cool. So it was restored in Paris and then eventually screened at Cannes, the New York Film Festival, and the Persian Film Festival just last year. Can you describe for our listeners what it was like to see your film debut, in that performance 44 years later?
Actually, 46 years later.
Wow.
The film was made a year and a half prior to the Tehran Film Festival. So, yes, after 48 years, it was my first film. And I was ever so proud that I had managed to land in such an amazing role, almost a lead for my first film. And after it was shown in the Tehran Film Festival, 2 days later, the director called me and said, I am terribly sorry, Shohreh, we're devastated, but the film has been banned for political reasons. And I was ever so upset. I didn't know what to say. I said, well, at the festival, I didn't watch it thoroughly because people kept asking me questions. They were putting my shoulder and stuff. Is there any way we can watch it at least once? And he goes, no, I'm so sorry. I don't have it. They confiscated it. So, okay. I keep asking here and there, is there any chance? No. Sorry, there is none because it's too important. Okay, a couple of years later, the revolution happens. I jump into my car, I drove out, and years go by. Where is this film? What happens to this film? All of a sudden, a couple of months ago, I'm sitting at home, a message comes up. The movie has been found in a knick-knack shop by the director's grandson. The Guardian, my favorite newspaper, is announced. I started crying. I couldn't help myself. It's like a mother who's lost a child 48 years ago. Now they're bringing the child to her.
You won an Emmy for your role as Saddam Hussein's first wife, Sajida Hussein, in the 2008 HBO miniseries House of Saddam. that made you the first Iranian woman to win a Primetime Emmy. So when you prepared for that role, did you have a lot of real life evidence at your disposal, or did you have to invent much of Sajida with the screenwriters?
Let me start with this. The only difference between a bad job, medium job, good job, and a perfect job is details, 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 details. In order to be able to portray a character that is well known or popular or has existed in this world or is living in this world today, you really need to look at the details of this character. BBC was very helpful. They gave us a lot of audio tapes that I could hear her voice and repeat her accent. And they gave me a lot of video clips of them, Sajida and Saddam, visiting hospitals. They even gave me videos of their private parties. And I started studying her. And the more I dig into her, the more I found out that, my God, this character is so sophisticated. At the beginning, it didn't look as sophisticated, as complicated as she is really. But when I got myself to study her, I noticed, oh my God, and she has so many gestures and a certain behavior that I can easily copy. One of them was, which to my dismay, I was always wondering why this happens all the time. When she stands, her legs are far apart. The foot are far apart from one another. Usually, we put our foot, closer. The hairs a tad further. And I thought, maybe she's uncomfortable in her shoes. Maybe when she's wearing shoes with heels, is uncomfortable. And this way, she has more control on her body when she stands with her leg apart, more than usual. But after a couple of days watching these videos, one after the other, reading 2 books on them, I finally noticed what's happening here. All her life, when she was a child, she was Saddam's cousin. She and her brother, Adnan, the 3 of them called themselves the 3 Musketeers. And ever since Saddam was 5 or 6 years old, and his mother went to her uncle and begged of him to raise Saddam because her second husband, who wasn't Saddam's father, was beating Saddam to death every day. So the mother went to her uncle and begged of him to take Saddam. So Saddam started living with them when he was only 5 years old. And the 3 of them went to the woods and played in the woods barefoot all these years until he was 18 years old. This woman is not comfortable in the shoes. She's used to running barefoot in the woods.
Ooh.
That's why. Details, 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 details.
I love that.
I suggest to all actors, don't go for the lines. You're just a vessel. Go for details. Right. I tell you, I've seen a performance this year and I keep talking about it. I can't help myself. Season 4, The Crown, Margaret Thatcher.
Gillian Anderson.
Honestly, I'm looking at her in awe and I'm thinking, oh my, this is sorcery. This is not acting anymore. In case of huge actors, we keep saying, this is sorcery. I mean, my God, this is not acting anymore. Like Laurence Olivier. But this one was, I'm looking at her, oh my God, details, details, details. And the neck movement. That, when the neck is tense, she turns around and it gets tense. Every time she and the Queen are talking about Commonwealth, look at her neck.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm in awe of this performance. If they don't give her an Emmy, I would bow to her first and I would give her my own Emmy.
Okay, Shohreh. Now is the point of the show we've entered. It's called the Rapid Fire. This just allows us to have no segues. We can get in all of our questions. You take as much time as you need. We're going to fire them off at you.
Okay.
Okay, Shohreh, we have found 0 record of you playing a lesbian yet on film. What gives? Have you played a lesbian?
The Cuban.
Yes, with Lou Gossett Jr. With Lou Gossett, yes. Okay.
I win.
Okay,
You
great.
win. Okay, Shohreh, you appear as biblical character Elizabeth, who is mother of John the Baptist, in Catherine Hardwicke's The Nativity Story. It would appear from our scanning that working with Catherine was maybe the first time you worked with a woman director on a feature film. Was the vibe better working with a woman director than a male director?
I cannot say better, but different. With a female director, you allow yourself to tell her how you're feeling physically, if that's the day that you're not feeling right. But with a male director, you cannot.
Yeah, most lack all intuition for how people are feeling.
But other than that, not much of a difference. No, not really. The way I look at I cannot tell you which film I did lately. I did a voiceover for, but I did a voiceover for a very famous franchise movie. It's coming out in a couple of months. And I was waiting for the director. He came in and said, "Are you ready for the voiceover?" And he was a bit, in a hurry. Of course I am. And he goes, "We need to do this in 2 hours." At the beginning, and I went, "Yes, we're going to do this." And he said, "Well, I'm sorry if I'm a bit, agitated." And I said, "Don't worry. The way I look at my directors, every time I work with a new director, I took them as my parents. You're my father today." And he turned around and said, "Your father?" And I said, "Yes, and I prefer them to be a scolding. So don't worry. Just do whatever you like to do."
Okay, in our research, we found an ABC pilot that didn't get picked up starring you and Candice Bergen called Pearl. This is the sitcom For Us. What happened to it?
I have no idea. I thoroughly enjoyed myself working with this legendary actress. You have no idea. She was a goddess back in Iran when I was young. Young men in general in Iran, they were like, "Candice Bergen, oh my God." And after 30 odd something years, I'm standing in front of her and I'm working with her, and I couldn't help myself. I said, and I don't know whether I did the right thing or not. I said, "Miss Bergen, all Iranian men are in love with you."
Shohreh, your first TV credit was Matlock. You've also appeared on Martin, Smith, ER, Grey's Anatomy, Will and Grace, Law & Order SVU, House, NCIS, Grimm, Bones, Scorpion, Elementary, and The Punisher, among many others. Which of those shows had the best hair and makeup team?
Will and Grace.
I believe it. Messing wants people to look good on her set, I'm sure.
Absolutely. She kept checking on me. She said, her hair is beautiful. Bring it in. Honestly, they were like a family.
That's great.
I wasn't feeling intimidated at all. At first, I thought these people have been working together for almost 10 years now.
Right.
You really look like an outsider. But they took me in. Deborah took me under her wings, and they were so nice to me. And 1, 2, 3, I felt compatible, and I started working with them.
Okay, Shohreh, The Expanse was canceled after 3 seasons on Sci-Fi Network, but was picked up by Amazon and has since amassed an enormous and loyal fan base. Are you surprised about the amount of fan art that you receive, and what is your weirdest fan encounter?
Lillian, had I not been a part of The Expanse, had I not experienced what fans can do for a show, I would have never been able to tell what fans can do for a show.
That's great.
Season 3, it was almost canceled. So all the other actors, they're all young. I'm the eldest one of them all. They were, what's going to happen to us? Being at my age, I kept telling them, "Children, don't worry. When a chapter is closed, the other chapter opens up. So let's look forward to the future." Trying to convince them. All of a sudden, I received a message with a picture next to it of a plane carrying a message, "Save the Expanse." And I'm thinking, who is doing this? We're not doing this. We're not doing this. So I called Stephen, my dearest, and I said, Stephen, who's doing this? And he goes, fans are doing this, Shohreh. They put their pennies and dollars together, send a balloon up. And my take on it is that they send it purposefully to the Amazon's headquarters, so it could go around for a while for Mr. Bezos to see it and say, what? This show is going to be cancelled? No. He picks up the phone, he calls the production and says, I want to see the rest of this show.
It's wild. Cool. It's cool. I'm happy that the fans made it. Keeping you employed, right? That's what I need. You to be working.
Oh my God. This show belongs to its fans.
That's beautiful.
Every time I get a chance, I thank them. I'm grateful to our production, to Alcon, to the Expanse writers, to the novelists, amazing novelists, Ty Frank and Daniel Abram. I am grateful for Amazon, but fans come first. But the most awkward meeting with a fan was in Comic-Con, San Diego. I was walking on the street, and two fans, they were like, oh my God, she's here. So they came to me and they said, can we have a picture? I said, by all means, I would love to. You guys saved our show. Let's take a picture. After that, one is laughing, the other one says, can we ask you a personal question? I'm like, well, depends on what kind of a personal question. What kind of a moisturizer do you use? I said, why are you asking this? They said, because you haven't changed for 40 years.
Hey, I appreciate that kind of weirdness.
That's the kind of weirdness I can live with.
So I told them what my moisturizer was.
Do you want to drop that hot tea right now? What kind of moisturizer you use? We're always willing to take it.
Revlon.
A classic. That's a classic.
Okay, so I've been talking about this for almost 15 years, Shohreh. Jennifer Connelly is on the record in Entertainment Weekly saying that she put dirt in her hair to play her role in House of Sand and Fog. Because apparently her hair was so luminous, she put dirt in it to make it grimy. Considering you got so physically close to her, you washed her bloody foot in the tub, did she have dirt in her hair?
She did have dirt in her hair. And I know for a fact because I hugged her. She was crying. I went to the makeup trailer and I noticed that she's turned her back and her back was bent. So I took a closer look and I noticed she was crying. After a certain scene, I cannot tell you which scene it was. And all I could do for her, I opened my arms and just like a child, she grabbed my shoulder and she put her head on my shoulder and she started crying. And I started caressing her hair. That's why I know for sure there was
muddy.
Damien, she's like a rosebud. It was so hard to turn her into an alcoholic who hasn't been taking care of her.
I mean, you were also a very beautiful woman, Shohreh, and you didn't put dirt in your hair to deglam, but I'm all for everyone's choices, you know?
No, she had to, because her hair is shiny. Shiny. And every time the hairdresser let her out of the trailer, her hair was beautiful. And Vadim, the Russian director, said, no way.
That's funny.
No way.
Okay, Shohreh, on screen you've both drank poisoned tea and served poisoned tea. Which was more romantic?
I would definitely say served.
Definitely.
Being served.
Being served the poison. But more romantic. The first one was a bit rough and tough for me because in real life I'm such a Pollyanna and I'm so positive and I'm always wearing a smile. And I keep telling children, do not say the word hate. It's too much. Say, I don't like it. But then I have to poison someone. It was hard. But being poisoned, being served.
It was a romantic poisoning that you received.
It was very romantic on the porch,
yeah,
in the sunset,
yeah,
in the arms of my husband, of my beloved husband. Can I ask for more? No.
If you're gonna go. Okay, Shohreh, you play a professor of archaeology supervising Blake Lively's character in The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants 2. On a scale of 1 to 10, be honest, how believable do you think Blake was as an archaeology student?
Well, to be honest with you, this student is doing this just because she wants to explore the world. And that is why when she comes to me, to my character, and tells me about Hector, the skeleton, I ask her, why do you think it's a man? And she goes, because it looks like a man. This student is not a true student. This student is about to explore ideas and is not quite sure where she wants to head. But Brig was amazing to work with. And one thing that I truly loved about her and her mother was the fact that her mother kept calling her, asking her, where are you now? It's 1 a.m. in Greece. And she would say, well, I'm with Shohreh, we're on the set, we're still working.
Oh,
That's sweet.
yeah, she had a good family life, hopefully. That's great.
I love that.
Okay, Shohreh, you play Commodore Paris in Star Trek Beyond. You've also appeared on ABC's sci-fi drama Flash Forward, the NBC sci-fi drama Believe, and we've already talked to you about your role on The Expanse. Shohreh Aghdashloo, are you a science fiction fan?
I am now. I wasn't before. My brothers and I started with Flash Gordon.
Yeah.
First, sort of. And then came, what was it? No.
Oh, Mork and Mindy.
Exactly.
Oh, good, Anne.
And when I was a young woman, romantic movies, of course, started studying politics. It was all political movies. Then epics and sometimes science fiction movies. But with the existence of these game changers and the larger-than-life movies or films that we are watching nowadays, like Marvel's movies, I am really interested in even watching more, learning more, and try to understand what is happening in those worlds that these movies, these game changers or Marvel films are suggesting, because I have a feeling that we're already living in the future. The other day, when I had to travel to go to work, I wore a mask, then I wore a shield, then I wore gloves.
Yeah.
I looked around and I thought, oh my God, I keep saying that I play in science fiction movies. What is this? This is science fiction.
Yeah. Okay, Shohreh, last question. Here we go. Dead serious. Your huge blonde wig was incredible in the House of Saddam. Now, this is a question that we ask many of the women that we interview. Which do you prefer, wig work or teeth work?
First of all, allow me to thank you, both of you, for such a thorough research on my background. You have come up with questions that no one else, with all due respect, has come up with. And you have mentioned my works that has never been mentioned in the media before. I am honestly so thankful and grateful to both of you. Thank you so much. This question was amazing because they didn't want to give me that blonde wig.
What did they want to do? Dye your hair?
Oh, no, not that beautiful hair.
No, you can't touch it.
Absolutely. I said, there's no way.
HBO has the money. HBO and BBC
Yes.
together,
Yes.
they can make it happen.
Before HBO. I have to say this. Thank you, HBO. I have to say it because it was before HBO. HBO wasn't on board at the very beginning. I'm talking about day one in the makeup trailer. The head of hair is telling me that, no, we cannot do that. It's too expensive. And I just rise up and I said, okay, then get working with me because this is how I would like to do it. And I want sort of orange blonde because Middle Eastern women have that orange in their roots. Every time they turn blonde, they go a little bit orange blonde. See if you can provide me with a wig, orange, and this I gave her the picture. What? I'm just saying goodbye to you, and I wish you the best. And I left the trailer and went to my trailer 2 minutes later, producers, the director, hurriedly, they come to my trailer. What's happening? I said, I need this wig. The hair makeup are saying it's very expensive. I said, well, finally, guess what? It was very expensive, $10,000. And they had to send me to London for that, to a wig master. The measurement took like an hour and a half. He measured inch by inch by inch by inch. Finally got to the top of my head and told me, come back next week. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to travel. So they had to send me twice. They spent a lot of money because they had to send me business class.
The wig work was masterful, so it all came together.
So exactly. Finally, I got it, and I'm still happy I got it because it was right.
It looked really good.
And in partnership with that script and that performance, it got you an Emmy.
Yes, I did. Yes. Proud. Yes.
Well, Shohreh Aghdashloo, I can't even tell you that this has been the dream of a lifetime for Damien and I. You were literally the top of our list when we started this podcast 2 years ago. So thank you so much for making this happen.
Thank you so much for taking up your time and talking to me. This is a part of my job that I adore.
Okay, so flashback like 10 to 15 years ago. I have been obsessed with Jennifer Connelly putting dirt in her hair for that long. I had that copy of Entertainment Weekly. I maybe recently threw it out, actually. I might still have it. God knows. I have a lot of shit. I've been obsessed with the fact that she said she put fucking dirt in her hair. And I told Anne this. So it's like one of the things that I like screamed in Anne's face for many years. And so then I like refound it before this interview. And I was like, I need to ask if this is real because like it's so dumb. The fact that Shohreh looked at me in the eyes and said, yes, she needed to, was the best version of the story that I can ever imagine. Also, I'm going to say that Shohreh's hair is just as luminous and beautiful as Jennifer Connelly's.
It's got stunning volume, and it's also like effortless.
The shine.
Look, here's the thing. As a thin-haired person, I'm very attracted to people with thick hair. It is like maybe like next to, I think it's like top 3 things that I notice in a person. Her hair was glorious.
Yeah, 100%.
We like to give folks a little bit of a teaser so they can guess at what's coming down the pipeline. I was able to connect Shohreh Aghdashloo to next week's guest 2 ways, and I was very excited. Can I give you one?
Yeah, wait, I want to know both of them.
Okay, great. So one, Shohreh was in American Dreams with a Z, a movie that we didn't talk about on the podcast because honestly, she has a small role in it, but that movie starred Mandy Moore.
Yes.
Who is in The Princess Diaries and saved with next week's guest. I mean, we're basically giving it away at that point. Do we want to not include that?
I don't care. Keep it.
Okay, I've got another connection. I'm very excited because Shohreh is an Oscar nominee and next week's guest is also a big deal. So it's like Shohreh was in The Lake House with Keanu Reeves, who was in The Devil's Advocate with next week's guest.
And you did great work here. You did
Thank
great
you so
work.
much. Thank you. I was very excited by that.
We are just dead that we got Shohreh Aghdashloo. So thank you for being on this journey with us. And thank you for listening to this week's episode. Please share it with your friends, family, and frenemies if you also enjoyed it. While you're at it, please follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Damien Bellino and at Rodaman. That is RODEMANNE.
As you know, You Might Know Her From is produced by us, Ann Rodaman and Damien Bellino, the 2 idiots sitting in your ear holes right this moment. And we want to shout out our consultants at Grumpy Entertainment. That's Jason Jude Hill and Danielle Sears. They're an incredible duo. Did you know that they're also husbands? They're our producing duo as husbands. I think that's wonderful. Anyway, we love them. They do incredible work for us. And all of the editing that you hear on these episodes is by the wonderful Danielle Sears.
We also want to shout out Gang. Gang is a Philly OG band. We love them so much. And all of that music that you hear in this episode and on all of our episodes is by the Great Gang. You can find them on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your music. What I was going to say earlier about fine hair is that my barber has been leaving, I get my hair cut not that frequently anymore. And then I went and I was like, I need you to like do it really close. And he was like, well, yeah, but last time I left the part that's a little light, meaning he is not giving me an even buzz cut because he's leaving hair where he thinks my hair is finer, where it's thinning. And I was like, I have no illusions about what my hair looks like. So like the jig is up. There's already a little bald spot. So just like make it even. I'm not trying to. I need that Jennifer Connelly dirt hair.
Got lumps in your head right now based on your barber's cut.